Jaeden, Claude Mythos is just a cool name for a model, and it's what we are talking about today, but also other things related to Anthropic. But the Mythos thing, it feels like those one of those moments in time, and I don't think we say it too often, where we say like, I wonder if this is sort of like a before and an after with Mythos, because in telling you guys what it is and telling you the implications of it, I think we'll sort of like start to get a sense of where these models are going very, very quickly. But Jaeden, I know you want to talk about other Anthropic things too. Let me just sort of on the Mythos stuff. This is like just an unbelievably powerful model that they feel is so powerful that they're not even releasing to the public, but they are doing a cool thing where they're partnering with some massive organizations to do essentially vulnerability detection. So you can see why this is both powerful and also why in the wrong hands, and this is through their Project Glasswing, I think it's called,
Yep.
is powerful. Guys, and just as we're kicking off too, as we're talking about Anthropic, remember that there's a few great models out there. You have your Claude and your Gemini, and you have your ChatGPT, and you even have Grok and everything else. And what I do all the time is I'm bouncing between all these models, but my favorite platform to do that on is Jaden's AIbox.ai. And this is where you can go in there and for an unbelievably low rate, less than $10 a month, you can actually get access to all these models, test them out against each other, see which one is best. You can build workflows. You can do all these kinds of things. It'll save you hundreds of dollars. I'm not even joking. Definitely check that out. It's amazing. AIbox.ai. Jaeden, tell us about Anthropic and the stuff that you're excited about.
Okay. Well, I guess like just let's throw down the context of everything with Claude Mythos. So everyone, if you haven't heard, you know. Otherwise, we'll give a quick recap and talk about
Yeah.
the implications. Basically, they have this model, and it's so good at cybersecurity that they kind of pointed at all the code bases in the world, and it went and found a bunch of zero-day exploits and all the code bases that we use. And these are some of these exploits have been, security vulnerabilities that have been there for 20 years in one case, another was
So,
10 years. And no human researcher or even hacker for that matter had ever found these. They point the model at it and it can go find them. So they're like, okay, this is concerning. They found over 1,000. They realized if they release the model to the public, bad actors, other people could essentially use it to find zero-day exploits in every open source software, every major software. So instead, they gave it to Apple, Amazon, Google. They gave it to every company in the world and all the big companies, and they gave it to all the security research firms. They said, please use this. They gave it to all of the open source projects, said, please use this to fix all the security vulnerabilities. We will give you $100 million in credits to just go fix all your stuff because we basically can't release this until the internet is patched, the entire software and internet of the world. So give it to all the top players. Everyone's fixing everything live as we speak right now. The question is, will they ever even be able to release it? I think they will. But that's kind of the context of what's happening. And so basically what's happening is we have this model that's just one area that they're concerned about is security, but it's that like step function of how much better it is how much better that model is at marketing and HR and like coding and a lot of other areas. So I think we kind of bury the lead sometimes because we talk about like, oh my gosh, this model can hack everything in the world. But it's like, no, do you understand? It is that much better at security, and that's what they're concerned about, but it's also that much better at everything. Like this model is insane. It is a massive, it's going to be a massive boost. So I'm really excited to get this model into my hands and to everyone else. Like I think we're going to get so much value out of this model, but yeah, we gotta deal with the security dilemma first. Okay, that's the first thing I'll say on this. The second caveat I will put on this entire story is a lot of people are saying, is this all a big PR stunt by Anthropic? And they're bringing up all of these articles that came out years ago when Dario was still working at OpenAI and
mhm.
when ChatGPT 2 came out, right? So it's like the most ghetto, hardly functioning, like piece of garbage that hallucinates to the moon. We didn't even, like ChatGPT wasn't even launched when
Yeah,
GPT
yeah.
2 was out, right? We were on GPT 3.5, I believe. And so
Mhm.
anyways, GPT 2 come out and there's all of these articles that's like OpenAI says they can't release GPT 2 to the world because it's too powerful. And so people are like, oh my gosh, Dario, when he was working at OpenAI, was saying this. Now he has his own company. He's running the same marketing playbook. And then we also had another story where OpenAI says, no, guys, look, we have a model that's just as good as Mythos. We're also worried that it's going to hack everything in the world. So we're also going to roll it out to everyone. It's like, oh, or they kind of just like, Me Too piggybacking on what Anthropic is doing. So anyways, that is my
Yeah.
little bit of healthy skepticism caveat to this whole story.
I always like the Jaden health. I prefer the Jaden crazy conspiracy, but I'll take the Jaden healthy skepticism. That's like sort of like the light version, I guess, of Jaden crazy conspiracy theories. But I'm actually kind of like with you because your crazy conspiracy theories often turn out to sort of be accurate, which always freaks me out. But I agree. I think two things. Like, first of all, yeah, is it too dangerous? I remember Jaden, you and I having these conversations very early on, probably back in 2023, 2024, where we were thinking, listen, something's going to go wrong with AI, and what's it going to be? Because this thing is very powerful, and I don't think we had that moment. I think the closest thing we had to that moment was sort of a derivative of the sycophancy problem where young people were using this and it was telling them to harm themselves and things like that, and that's a guardrail problem. And that was and I think that you and I are both, as dads, sort of super relieved that they were, that was brought out the open pretty fast and they had to
Yeah.
address that pretty fast. But otherwise, I don't think we saw like the mega hacking and things like that we thought we were going to see with AI. I don't think we had, anyone. It's sort of like when they say, oh, terrorists can bring in nuclear devices into the container ships, because they only check 2% of what, and yet it doesn't. And I mean, my gosh, knocking on wood here, of course, but like it just doesn't really seem to happen at the scale that people sort of think it could happen with Mythos. There's two things happening here. First of all, they really are finding these, what they call like 0-day, vulnerabilities and things like that. Just like, these security vulnerabilities that have been around for, yeah, years, in some case, decades. So they really are doing that. They really are partnering with some of the biggest organizations in the world on that. I guess two things. Number one is that how is this not inevitable that like we're saying like, oh, well, we can't let this go. DeepSeek is going to have this capability in
Yeah.
9 months, right? There's no way. There's no way if this is if this is sort of like these recursive models that are making themselves better and better and better, it stands to reason that an open source Chinese model is going to have this very soon. So now I'm thinking, well, is this will the companies that like really matter? I know that the big companies will do great protecting their data and security vulnerabilities and things like this, but that's not most of the companies in the world. So I'm a little worried about that side of this. Number one. Number two, yeah, is Anthropic just like sort of like playing this up? Even if they are playing it up now, I think that they're probably on the same track as everybody else, which is this is just growing really, really fast. Um, Jaden, other thoughts on that? But also, I know that this wasn't the end of the Anthropic news either, was it?
No, there's so much more to Anthropic, but I do think you have a really good point with the DeepSeek comment, because a couple things are happening, right? Like on the one hand, if these companies were completely siloed, it was a magic black box, which some people like to think they are, and you ask it a question and it gives you an answer, and it's like, wow, why does Anthropic's answers, why are they so good? And no one knows why, and it's just this magical black box. Then maybe Anthropic could do whatever they want. But the reality of the situation is every time there's a release, they release they release like research papers and PhDs are talking about how it's happening. And when they do like reasoning, people are saying, look, this is how we make the reasoning models better. All of the research is getting published. And then you have situations where like Anthropic accidentally releases the source code for Claude Code. Now anyone can copy, like any Chinese firm or any other firm could clone Claude Code with a lot of their source code. So like this stuff, the information, the data, people are reverse engineering it. Like it's just getting out there. There's no, once the genie gets out of the bottle, it's out of the bottle.
Right.
And so I think, yeah, DeepSeek and any other firm is going to reverse engineer any sort of improvements that the top models have, and we're like, they're going to get there. We're going to get the same thing. So at the end of the day, it's like, who do you want to be at the very forefront? Okay, well, we probably want a company like Anthropic that is giving $100 million in tokens, and every major, it's going in. I heard this like story where like Anthropic is going to the I don't know, it wasn't like the CIA, but like some big government agency, and it was like
Mhm.
telling them and briefing them on this, and it was just so funny with all the beef that Anthropic's had with the government. It's like they're still like, okay, guys, but like you actually still have to do this as well. Like we could be friends for this, right?
That's so
So,
right.
anyways,
That's so right.
I think that's awesome. But it just seems like, yeah, you have like a responsible company that's trying to like forewarn all the big firms. This is who we want to be at the forefront of AI. And so it's like, you don't ever want to tell Anthropic to slow down. You don't want to tell OpenAI to
Right.
slow down because the genie is out of the bottle with AI. We see the direction this is all going. Like, just build it as absolutely fast as you can before you get outtaken by like a bad actor. Like, that's kind of how it is. Like, Anthropic is
Yeah.
like running away from, I don't know what you want your analogy, but like there's like a tiger chasing it, and it's
Right.
running away and it's at the front right now. But like if Anthropic decided tomorrow, like this is too dangerous, we're never releasing it, they're just going to get eaten and it's going to come
Yeah.
out anyways.
No, it feels like that arms race, right, with AI, which is they have to be, protecting their companies and they have to be watching out for sort of, if the bad actors have this too, what's gonna happen again. But I'm not sure we're gonna just like see that kind of like one. I mean, we probably will see one big blow up, but it's uh, I don't know. I mean, AI and sort of like the white hat AI guys are seem to be kind of like on top right now. But again, and Gene, sorry, like just to continue one other thought on this. Do you remember back in 2023, I think it was when there was like a leaked Google memo or something like that saying, or maybe it was OpenAI, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying like open source is going to crush everybody. Why wouldn't they? And yet here we are 3 years later, and that's actually not happened at all. I think Meta has sort of like proved that that's not the right model. I know DeepSeek, other Chinese models are doing very, very well, but I just don't see that happening in the same way I thought it would happen in 2023.
Yeah, for like raising money and for security purposes, like
Right,
Anthropic,
right,
let's say they're a completely open source model that relied on donations, like they couldn't release Mythos to the world as open source because,
right,
you
right.
know, like the only even Opus 4.6, and I this sounds so horrible, and I understand this sounds horrible. Maybe a lot of our listeners are like in business and don't really care, but like for the broader internet, I know their ears are
Yeah.
bleeding and they hate me for saying like because and I personally I love like freedom. I'm like the maximum freedom guy.
You
So I
are a
feel like
freedom
it
guy. You're a
part of this
freedom guy.
goes against everything I believe in, which is like but like basically these models like the guardrails are actually really good. If you try to do something with Opus 4.6 that is against their terms, it's going to stop you from doing it. And so like anyways, yeah, I think sometimes
Yeah.
the guardrails are good. What level they're good at, I don't know. But like, you know, I don't believe in anarchy. We have laws for a reason. So like we have to kind of make these rules and open source models can essentially have no guardrails or can be made to have no guardrails. So yeah, it feels like you have to have some of these closed source things. But yeah, all in all, this is an absolutely wild time for Anthropic. They're firing on all cylinders. There's new features coming out every day. We got to do like a whole nother episode on the
Yeah.
Claude platform, which is basically like
Oh, yeah.
OpenClaw but way easier, way simpler. It's a platform you can go log into and set up agents, and you just message them like you were setting up those custom GPTs back in the day on OpenAI. Please, everyone, go check out the Claude platform and set up some agents to automate a lot of the stuff you're doing. It will save you so much time, but it's wild.
And by the way, Jaden, as much as you are sort of like for freedom, and I hear you, I'm for freedom as well. You are for Grok guardrails, I have to say. So like this is where I think that you have sort of like you've let your wallet drive the decision there. Listen, there's so much on Anthropic. You're right. We need like 3 straight episodes to do this, but it is worth following this news, guys. Like, just even if you're sort of like thinking, I can't even get my head around what Mythos is. Neither can we. Nobody really can. But just like make sure that you're tracking along because anytime you see these big organizations partnering together, you know that there's something serious happening. So, anyway, with that, we will see you on the next episode. One big question, if we can always put it out there, one big request is if you can leave us a rating and review, we would absolutely love it. Don't forget to check out Jaden's other podcast. Don't forget to check out our other podcast, AI and Faith, if that's your kind of thing too. And otherwise, we will see you in the next episode.